Here we are celebrating, about to receive the gift of the Holy Eucharist, the real bread of life. For me and my household, we will serve
that
the
He is
Lord.
with us now. He will be with us tomorrow. He will always be with us.
It's better to light one candle than it is to curse the darkness.
May the Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus and his disciples set out for the villages of Caesarea Philippi. Along the way, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" They said in reply, "John the Baptist, others Elijah, and still others one of the prophets." And he asked them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter said to him in reply, "You are the Christ." Then he warned them not to tell anyone about him. He began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer greatly and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed and rise after 3 days. He spoke this openly. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. At this he turned around and, looking at his disciples, rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You are thinking not as God does, but as human beings do." He summoned the crowd with his disciples and said to them, "Whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and that of the gospel will save it." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise the Lord Jesus Christ.
I think you might agree, my brothers and sisters, that one of the most moving services within the liturgical year takes place on Good Friday. Following the readings, the cross, a large wooden cross, is brought down the aisle, is stopped 3 times, and is finally held in place front and center for veneration. And as that happens, my brothers and sisters, everybody who's participating recognizes 2 things. That first of all, this large wooden cross clearly represents the cross that Jesus carried to Calvary, the cross that he suffered and died on out of love for all of us. We're made mindful, I think, of the quote that comes to us from the Gospel of St. John, chapter 15, that there is no greater love than this, to lay down one's life for your friends. But that being said, as that cross is brought up and again placed front and center, aren't we also made mindful of all the crosses that we carry as part of our lives here? The crosses that Jesus, of course, reminds us of in the gospel today that we're called to pick up and carry on our personal journey as a pilgrim people. As individuals, they may include chronic illness, the death of a loved one, fractured relationships, betrayal, an offense against our human dignity. There are many more, and you know all about them because most of you have probably carried one or several of them throughout your life. As a nation, our hearts go out to those who have carried the cross of the loss of life, homes, the devastation that's caused by flooding, fire, all kinds of natural disasters, as well as those who are the innocent victims of violence. And we think of our brothers and sisters worldwide who suffer due to war, terrorism, extreme poverty, the pandemic, and again, natural disasters, including the people of Haiti, who are asking for a free will offering for today. And brothers and sisters, while these are obviously not all of the crosses that people bear, they are a reminder that to see the cross, to think about, to consider the cross, means to remember all of those ways that the cross comes into our lives and into the lives of our brothers and sisters as well. This weekend, as we commemorate the 20th anniversary of 9/11, we recall the enormous cross that all of us were called to bear as we witnessed the terrorist attack on our country. Who would have or could have anticipated how that particular Tuesday morning would unfold into a Good Friday, a nightmare for all of us who are old enough to remember to endure? And in the bulletin today, I invited you to consider the often asked question, where were you? Where were you when that first plane crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center? But perhaps the more important question is really, how did you feel? How did you feel when you began to realize that we were under attack? And not just innocent victims who were in some other place more directly experiencing this, but all of us who are Americans and brothers and sisters in the Lord. The collective pain of that cross was revealed that same evening as thousands upon thousands gathered in their respective churches. Why? Well, to be together, to pray, to have some sense of solidarity during that terrible day as we carried the weight of that cross together. And to remember somehow that even as we were experiencing what seemed like a nightmare, that the cross is never to be the end. That Christ calls us, as the opening song suggests to us, that we lift high the cross, that we're called to do our very best to strengthen one another, to encourage one another, to keep our focus on the resurrection. And not just, my brothers and sisters, the resurrection that is eternal life, but in the ways that we assist one another on our pilgrim journey to the kingdom. And that kind of hope in the resurrection, my friends, became abundantly clear as we witnessed the heroic efforts of firefighters, police officers, first responders, clergy, ordinary citizens with perhaps no specific training, but who just came forward on that day and the days following, risked their own lives and simply asked, how? How can I help? As Father James Martin, who writes for America Magazine and who arrived on the scene in New York City, puts it, the experience of September 11, 2001 was not simply one of tragedy, but also one of resurrection. For me, it embodied the Christian mystery of the cross. The place of unimaginable tragedy can also be the place of new life that comes in unexpected ways. For certain, my brothers and sisters, one of the great reminders that came to all of us from September 11th, 2001, is that the gift of our lives here is so very, very precious and at the same time so very fragile. It gives us pause and invites us to consider the words of the psalmist who wrote, "This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." This is the day. This is the moment. For who can be certain beyond that what might be ahead for us? Now is the time, you see, for us to be there for one another, to help one another in whatever way possible as we carry our crosses. And I'd like to conclude this morning what I feel is a thoughtful reflection on 9/11 by an unknown author who reminds us that it's so true. As the Gospels remind us, we do not know the day nor the hour the Lord will call us, and to do our best to cherish the now we spend with our brothers and sisters, those we care about, those we love so very much. 20 years ago, 246 people went to sleep in preparation for their morning flights. 2,606 people went to sleep in preparation for work in the morning. 343 firefighters went to sleep in preparation for their morning shift. 60 police officers went to sleep in preparation for morning patrol. 8 paramedics went to sleep in preparation for the next day. None of them saw beyond 10 a.m. September 11th, 2001. In one single moment, life may never be the same.